everyone gets AT&T's best deal on the new iPhone 14 Pro with the incredible camera. So, people currently listening to comedy podcasts, and people listening to political podcasts, and people listening to true crime podcasts who actually can't stop listening to true crime podcasts and it's ruling their lives. The point is, everyone, new and existing customers. Ask how to get up to $800 off the new iPhone 14 Pro with eligible trade-in. Visit att.com or our stores for details. Terms and restrictions may apply.
Hey coconuts, I'll be taking a break from content for the month of July as I recollect other things in my life and sort out different parts of TFC. We have a lot going and it's a team effort between all of us, so thanks for sharing the content. Please continue to share great content with your friends and family, all your loved ones. Today, I'll be bringing on an episode from Coconut Avenue, our property podcast, which we are building season 2, so that's great. There are a lot of social nuances when it comes to buying a property, and does not help that many of these guys online are disturbing our YouTube videos to stroke our fears and anxiety about property. So I'm putting this episode up with Baey from Mortgage Master on today because I share the same belief with him that before searching for property, you should look at mortgages first. How much can you actually support? Essentially, what is your purchasing power of a property before you start shopping, only to realize, hey, maybe I cannot really afford this, and settling for subpar arrangements in an old, emotional and tiring journey of finding your property. It's a pretty draining journey. So in this episode, we're going to break down the core tenets of mortgages and talk about refinancing. Baey thinks that you should take a HDB loan, then refinance to a bank loan. So all that jazz and more. I think it's a good episode for us to all have a mental framework to prep our property purchases. So this matters, okay? Enjoy, have fun, and if you love what you hear today, give Coconut Avenue a follow on your favorite podcast network, Spotify, Apple, Amazon, whatever you. I will be hosting season 2, and it will be a docu-narrative series. It'll be fun. We're going to push ourselves to create interesting audio content for all of you. We will be following the property journey of a few property buyers, evaluating their decision metrics, their caveats, their assumptions, and getting the experts to comment on them. It'll be pretty immersive and fun, so join us. Follow Coconut Avenue.
One common reason why fire sales and defaults exist and people losing money in properties is because they didn't calculate the mortgages properly early on. Is your mortgage loan so important that it can make or break your property purchase, be it for your own stay or investment? You bet your money it can. With that said, how can you then prevent yourself from purchasing the wrong property due to insufficient knowledge about mortgages? You'll find out in this episode. If you're curious about this important yet mostly neglected part of people's property purchase journey, listen on. Let's go! Welcome back to another day on Coconut Avenue. Join us as we explore various property insights, investment strategies, and challenging property myths out there today. We'll be bringing on investors and experts in the game to share with us their insights and stories to better prepare us for our journey. Whether you're looking at your first property or building a bucket of gold through properties, there's something for you here. Ultimately, it's about helping you find your unique game plan. Our guest today is a driving force in the mortgage industry for almost 10 years. He started out at DBS specializing in mortgages and rose to become branch business senior relationship manager. He then led the mortgage department at MoneySmart before co-founding Mortgage Master in 2019. He's here today to talk about something so important but almost always neglected in a property purchase journey until their last stage. What I'm referring to is the mortgage loan. Let's welcome David Baey. How is the credit score in Singapore calculated?
Credit score in Singapore, unlike, if you watch movies in the US, everybody literally has a score, like an SAT score. Like, my credit is 1,600. Woo! So in Singapore, it doesn't work that way. It literally is taken as the past 36 months credit rating. So every single card you have, every single unsecured facility you have, has a credit rating that starts from star, which means you don't use the card, to A, means you pay on time, all the way to like H, means you default. Okay? So there is, you don't use the card, you pay on time and you pay in full. And you pay on time and you pay minimum sum, all can be seen on the credit bureau. So banks will actually use that to assess how a person's repayment capability as well as repayment forthcomingness. I have seen cases when I was an ex-banker, seen cases get rejected. And the credit team actually, like the guy has high income. TDSR is within norm. That's how we deem it. Credit reject his loan. Why? He said the guy, literally the word they tell me on the phone was, he cao kuan. Why? He got money to pay, but he don't want to pay the credit cards on time. So we don't want to take this customer. So this is actually how the way banks used to assess the ability is through the credit bureau. And you can see every single facility. You can see the amount owed, how much, whether you pay in full, whether you pay minimum sum, everything can be seen on credit bureau. Yeah.
Wait, you said something like TDSR?
Yes.
Acronym, right? Can we know what's TDSR?
Okay, so since 2012, the law was made by MAS that all banks, when you're buying a new house, the loan must be calculated through TDSR, total debt servicing ratio, which is 60% of the income, gross income that you earn. For HDBs, you got to pass TDSR 60% as well as MSR 30%, which is just mortgage servicing ratio. So what's the difference between TDSR and MSR? TD is total debt, all liabilities. MSR is just mortgage.
So TDSR includes all your personal loans, car loans, and all that
Yes.
stuff.
So for example, if you earn 10K a month and the TDSR is supposed to be 60%, right? So you have 6,000 spare. That's your total debt. From this 6,000, we will just do the reverse calculation. Your monthly installments for mortgage can only be up to $6,000.
Yeah.
Then I'll reverse engineer and find out what's your maximum you can borrow. Now, from this 6,000, if you have a car loan of 1,000, suddenly for mortgage, you only have 5,000 left. Yeah, so that's total debt servicing ratio.
Okay, that's cool. And there's this part where you talk about like star and A, right? And
Yes.
under the credit score,
Yeah.
right? Is it credit score or credit rating?
Credit rating.
Credit rating.
Yeah.
Okay, so score is for companies. Is there a difference then?
I think it's just lingo that people use.
Okay, so
you
it's
know.
just lingo, yeah. Because, finance people always got a lot of lingo. So we want to clear this up, okay? So
Yeah.
essentially, credit score, okay? So there's a difference between star and A.
Yes.
And star means like you do not use at all. Like,
Yes.
so you have access to credit, but you do not use it.
Yes.
And A means you have access to credit, you use it and you pay it in full.
Or on time.
Or on
Yeah.
time, right? That means you are very good credit user, like
Yes,
essentially
correct,
you pay it
correct.
back, right? So is there a difference in terms of like how am I viewed by the companies? Is star better than A in that sense?
Yes. Okay, so let me just
Yeah,
go
because
back.
some people will talk about
Yeah.
this thing, right? Essentially,
Let me go back to the original.
Yes,
I have
yes,
clients who tell me, I do not have a single credit card or cash line or car loan, and they think that is good. It is great in my opinion, but it's not good when they assess your credit because there is no repayment capability for a bank to assess.
okay.
Yeah, so if you just got a new job and you do not have credit cards yet, but your job is super high earner, like luckily you joined Goldman Sachs and they pay you 20,000 a month for a reason,
and you
and
cannot
you want
sleep
a
every
and you want a
night.
$2 million loan, the bank may not lend it to you first because I'm firstly not sure whether the job is real. So normal person like myself who have worked for many years, I joined Goldman Sachs, first day at work, bank will lend me already. But then for this guy, they will say, maybe let Goldman Sachs pay you 2 months first. Let me really prove that Goldman Sachs is really paying you. I need to see your first pay come in. So no credit at all is a good thing in life, but a bad thing because banks cannot assess your repayment capabilities.
They can't judge you whether you're reliable.
Yeah. So star is good because you have a credit line, means another bank has already assessed for me that you can get a credit facility. So I don't have to assess it myself. That's why one bank lend you something, other banks will lend you the same thing, more lah, The next thing you asked was A and B. Now, the liabilities that affects your TDSR, like I said, 6,000 for a 10K income, then you got a car loan, 1,000, suddenly your TDSR is maximum for mortgage is just 5,000, right? The other thing that affects it is your minimum sum payable. Those are all liabilities. So each credit card, if you use $100 on one credit card, your minimum sum payable is $50. If you use $1,000 on the credit card, your minimum sum payable is still $50. Or the statement will say it's $50 or 3%, whatever is higher, correct? So if you only have one credit card and you are getting a home loan and you want the maximum loan due to reasons that you need that loan, right? If you use one credit card, your liability is just $50. If you spend $1,000 on one credit card, liability is $50. You spend $100 on 10 credit cards, your liability is $500. So then I would advise you to, maybe before you take the loan, you have a credit diet, You
Yeah.
just
I don't
use
even know
one
why you
card.
got 10 card in the first place.
Some people like to play the rebate game, like my mother. These points here, this cash
the
rebate
mile
here.
here, this point,
Yeah,
that
yeah.
thing. Okay.
Yeah. pay my Singtel bill for me, then use her card to pay the petrol station. Okay, mom. Yeah. So
I get that,
some people like to play
yeah,
that game.
Retirees need something to do.
Yeah.
Okay. But
But she makes a few hundred a month, That's pretty decent money,
That's cool. But the clarity is that, Star is better than A, and Star is definitely better than if you have no credit line at all.
Correct.
Right. So once you
Correct.
indirectly, am I hearing that once you have a stable job, even if you don't use credit cards, go and apply for some sort of credit facility so that you are considered Star in the credit rating agency?
Yes, I would advise that.
Okay, so that's your viewpoint. You don't need to use it, but at least you must be approved of a credit line.
I mean, there's a lot of reasons to have at least one credit card. When you go overseas and stuff like
When
that.
you go dating.
I mean, I forgot what dating is like already. Right?
Yes. Good stuff. Thanks.
Yeah. Make sure you pay. Like I said, one credit card is better than 10 because it affects your TDSR.
Yeah. And is there no clear in terms of if I'm an A, I definitely get my mortgages. If I'm a B, then I don't guarantee get my mortgages. Like how does that work? Because credit rating, credit score, this kind of stuff.
You are exactly right. Actually, Bs, if you have many Bs, you have a problem. Don't say C. B itself is a problem. If you are using multiple cards, 3, 4, 5, 10 cards, right? Only one has a B. As the banker processing your loan, I will find the excuse for you. I'll be like, hey, Reggie, why is this B? Then you can actually tell me, oh, my salary comes in on first, but I have to pay this bill on I don't know, like a date, or I'm working overseas, or actually this card is a sub card for my mom, then every month she pays this date. Okay, but to get a B is actually very difficult, A lot of people have the misconception when I ask them, you must pay your credit cards on time, you're good. Say, no leh, I got a problem. I consistently always pay like 1 week later, 2 weeks later, I forget. B is only 30 days later. So if you pay the penalty to your bank and then you only pay 1 week later and you're willing to pay the penalty, it doesn't affect your credit bureau. Credit bureau is 30 days later, then it becomes a B. So it's quite fair if you think about it.
Yeah.
Then if you have a few cards and only one has a B, I can explain it away. If you have a few cards and a lot of them have Bs, you are one of the people that I said in earlier, the credit team will say you 超宽 you don't want to pay on time. Then what makes you think that if I lend you my mortgage, you will pay on time? So I will not lend you money at all. I just want to avoid this situation.
Okay, that's cool. And it's all reference based on what the bank decides whether they want to lend you, right? This score is like an information for them to then decide whether, okay, do I want to lend to this person based on the score?
So the total debt servicing ratio is a law. Everything else is by guidelines. So every bank has different guidelines.
Okay, cool. Clarity, nice, good stuff.
Yeah. So other than the payments for your credit, let's say, what are the other factors that will affect your credit score?
Credit score is literally just tracked by this, but they can see your history.
Yeah.
So of course, bankruptcy is very obvious. Writs of summon or anybody who have sued you or your company before, or if you had a bad credit even in 2004, 2005, like 15 years, 16 years ago, it still will be reflected on the credit bureau. It doesn't disappear.
Okay.
Yeah, but if it's cleared, it will be reflected that it's cleared. So people may ask you if it's too big a question. But other than this usage of credit, unsecured facilities or car loans, which is secured facilities, that's literally how credit bureau is determined and assessed by the banks.
Actually, what's unsecured facilities?
Credit cards and cash lines, stuff like these are unsecured facilities where there's no asset backing it. You see, a car loan has an asset backing it, so the interest rate is a lot lower than a credit card. Credit card, if you don't take a package, is like 24 to 28% today. Car loan is effective interest rate is 2 to 4%. There's always a flat rate and there's an effective rate. Make sure you look at the effective. Housing loan effective rate less than 2%, like 1.2, 1.3. Why? The more secure some asset backing the loan, the cheaper the interest rate because the bank is not afraid you run away. There's still asset to take back.
Yeah.
And the house is not a depreciating asset, technically. A car is a depreciating asset. That's why interest rates are higher. Credit cards and cash lines have no asset backing it. So the interest rate is even higher.
I see.
Can you give me a little bit clarity? I know this can be a little bit cheesy, but what's the difference between effective interest rates and flat interest rates? Because, it's like it's used everywhere, you know, and so I was like, 到底是多少, right? What is the exact amount that I need
Yeah,
to pay?
this is going to be technical. I want to jump full technical, right?
Yes.
Okay, so let's say you take a 1% loan on a 10K per annum, 10 years. A flat rate will be like this. 1% for 10 years is 10%, right?
Yeah.
So today, for the next 120 months, you owe me 10,000 plus 10%. You owe me 11,000. I divide it by 120 months. That's your monthly installment. Okay? So I take the 1% interest on the 10K for the second year, third year, fourth year, fifth year, all the way to the 10th year. Now, that is flat rate. So what is the real effective interest rate? I'm sorry, I can't do it. I can't do quick maths. So I have to use a calculator. But for mortgage, where it's called effective already, is 10K. Okay, so I divide it by 120 months. You don't pay me that same number throughout. You pay me the same number throughout, but I'll do some algorithm in it where the first month when you pay me, let's say it's $100. Your interest is 1% per annum, so I'll take 1%, divide by 12 months, that's your interest for the first month. The second month when you pay me $100, let's say $95 goes to the principal. You only owe me $9,905 now. I'll take the $9,905 and then times the 1%. So every month your interest is lesser because your principal is reduced. That is effective interest rate.
So in other words, the effective one over the 10 years you'll pay a lot lesser lah.
Yes, a lot lesser.
Yeah.
So car loans are front loaded. So the terms, you know, like Reggie said just now, there's a lot of lingo and terms used, right?
That's why we are here.
Yeah.
Right? Yes.
So when they say effective interest rates, it means it is not front loaded. If flat rates are front loaded, which means, like I said, your 1% is times 12 years. So it's just you owe me 10%. I front load on 10,000 upfront. So now you owe me 11,000.
I see. Okay. A lot of installment plan also do this kind of weird
Yes.
things. Yes.
So every time you must see the bracket EIR. That is actually the thing that you should compare.
So basically the only things that as consumers we can do to improve our credit score is just to focus on paying the credit cards on time.
Yes. Actually, I mean, it's not like I don't use credit cards in my life. It's not like I always used to pay it in full.
Yeah.
Although I strive to. However, financially correct advice is please use your credit card, but don't ever pay the interest. Always pay it in full.
Yeah.
That's the financially correct advice.
Yeah. There's something, that's out there always. People always say that you should get a property as young as possible if you can. And the age of 35 always comes up. They say it will benefit you a lot lah for your mortgage. But why is that so? Can you explain it to us?
The age of 35 comes up, I actually think, not due to anything to do with finance. But because that's when you can buy a HDB as a single. So I think that's why...
More people stay single.
More people will stay.
Yeah.
People will say the number 35.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Hey, there's a trick here. This is something that I can say because people know this trick. If you're going to get married and you're 34 this year, maybe you get married after 35. Then husband go and buy one HDB, wife go and buy one HDB. Then after that you get married, you got 2 HDB. Because HDB yield is the nicest yield.
So that's a loophole there essentially.
But you delay your life for
Yeah.
it. And you can't buy BTO because a valuable HDB is normally minimally 3-room, but 4-room or 5-room is better. HDB rental yield is the best compared to private. Easily, okay. For example, a 5-room HDB flat at a decent estate will cost you about $600,000+. I can rent it out at 2008.
Sounds like Bidadari.
Bidadari may be even more expensive. That's a BTO.
Very expensive.
So today I buy resale 600+K. I can rent out 2008, or let's do a estimation 30,000 a year. That's 5% yield on 600K. But to get the same 30,000, I need to buy a 900K condo. That is 3% yield only. Right? So the yield on HDB is higher than condominiums on private property when it comes to rental income.
Yes, but we are not recommending you to buy anything, or this is for educational purposes
of
only.
course.
Only, yeah.
Capital appreciation for private property is higher than HDB. So, there's always pros and cons.
So always a lot of
There's
discussion.
always pros and cons.
Endless. Okay, cool. Then if let's say I've decided that I want to buy a property, okay, I want to get something, then I want to know how much I can borrow, right? Because everything that we've talked about before is pre-borrowing. Now I want to talk about like how much can I borrow? Like what actually affects my total loan quantum, other than the whole TDSR portion, right? Like, do people look at my income, my liability, my age, all those things? The matters not, right? When I'm trying to borrow money.
So you actually answered your question because the maths formula to calculate the loan eligibility actually has just this algebraic things which Reggie just said. Your age, your income, your liabilities, and the interest rate. So the interest rate, thankfully, since 2012, the government said that to find loan eligibility, we need to base on a 3.5% interest rate, although thankfully in the market it's slightly less than 1.5 now. The reason is, and I think it's very good, the government makes sure that you count at 3.5. In case interest rates go to 3.5, you can still afford the monthly installments.
It's a buffer.
Yeah, it's a buffer. Because we don't want a subprime crisis to happen in Singapore, right? And that's exactly how you do the calculation. So any loan calculator out there, behind it is just mathematical formulas. The key point is understanding all these terms like income. Employment income has basic pay. Self-employed basic pay, I have to take a 30% haircut. I only take 70% of your income. Commissions, bonuses, I also have to do a formula behind that. Something called weighted age average. If you are 35, your wife is 33, and you think the average age for loan tenor, another one of the factors, is 34 years old, so you can take a longer loan tenor. The answer is not that. It's because the age is weighted towards the higher income person. So there's all these things out there which, I would say the formula is simple, but there's too many variances. That's why you need a specialist, a consultant to help you. Yeah, I'm not going to tell anyone I'm doing rocket science. It's actually pretty easy maths. But the too much variance on factors to consider to add into the maths to make it accurate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Does your mortgage tenure, let's say 10 years versus 30 years, affect your loan quantum as well?
Definitely, because it's a direct translation from the total debt servicing ratio, which means your monthly liability. So a 10-year loan tenor versus a 30-year loan tenor, the installments is 3 times higher. That's why your loan is 3 times lesser.
So the 30 years one
Can borrow more.
can borrow more. Okay.
Or if you borrow the same amount, the installments is 3 times smaller because you're paying it over 3 times longer.
And just now you said something in a tonality about like maxing out your mortgages.
Okay.
Right. So I'm curious, like what is your take on that? Because like I can max out, right? I can loan whatever. Like if I make 10,000, I loan max 6,000. I only buy a house. I don't own car, nothing. That's my max, right? But you had this tonality, like if you want to max out, you max out, that kind of vibe, right? So,
Yes.
so it's like what's the best practice? Like how should I go about looking at this thing?
Okay, so this is purely my opinion because everybody can have their own choices.
Of course. If you're super bullish on the property market, you want to double down, then that's a different thing.
And it's also based on your own preference, risk preferences, your own life choices, right? So I personally just bought a house. I was looking at a condominium for the longest time. The last 1 month, me and my wife decided, let's buy an EA. A HDB that costs too much, but costs 900,000.
Which area, man?
Bishan.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
okay.
So outside of the central region, right, Bishan has the highest $1 million HDBs. So I only 900. But
I always hang out at Bishan Park, so I know.
Oh, nice. It's a 1,570 square feet HDB, so it's in EA. It's quite big. But why did I do that? Because any banker, any property estate agent, and myself in the industry, like I just said it just now, I'm buying to stay, not buying to rent. So I don't care about rental yield. Capital appreciation is better for private than HDB. I said it just now, but why I still buy? Not because of the long-term maths. It's because of the short-term maths. I'm a founder of a startup. You don't pay yourself big bucks to start the company when you start the company, So it's just pure conservativeness, not due to the investment brain or that. No, it's at the end, investment brain was why we wanted the condo, but conservativeness and cash flow is why we in the end ended up with a HDB. All right. So you talk about maximum loan. Well, I feel that everyone has to answer 3 questions before they decide on what property they want. And if any housing agent asks you these 3 questions, or any mortgage consultant does not ask you these 3 questions, it actually determines, in my opinion, whether they are good or bad.
Okay.
The first question is, people think it's going to be very cheap, difficult questions. It's actually super simple. The first question is, as you mentioned, loan eligibility. So, off my head, because I've done too many loans in my life, a 20-year loan, if you earn 20K a month and you can take a 20-year loan, you can borrow $2 million. So let's say I'm 45 years old. So that's maximum age is 65. So I can take a 20-year loan. Earning 20K a month at 45 is a pretty decent income, I must say.
You're considered top 1%, by the way.
Correct,
yes,
right?
Yes.
But some people don't get there some people climb the ladder to get there. Some people, maybe they are just senior manager. Then suddenly the CEO recognize, wow, you have been working your ass off. Can I say that word?
Yeah, go ahead.
You've been working very hard for the past few months or the past 2 years.
We family friendly, yes, but we are okay, yes.
Yeah.
It's okay, yes.
You've been working very hard for the past few years. And I recognize that you've been carrying the department suddenly from 10K, boom, 20K. Okay, so this guy now can take a 2 million loan. So proud, he goes home, he tells his wife, let's buy a big house. So he goes to buy a 2.5 mil house. Okay, sorry, 2.6 mil house because that's a 75% loan, right? Then he realizes that, hey, I only just started earning 20K. I'm eligible. First question settled. I can loan 2 million. Second question, do I have the down payment and the stamp duties? I need 688,000 for down payment and stamp duties. Have or not? Well, I only just got this high salary. Have I saved that much money? So second question is, can you afford the down payment? And these two are still easy to answer. You can have CPF, right? You can use as down payment. The last question is the most important. Are you okay with the monthly installments? Because I can earn 20K a month. Everybody has different preferences, different ways they want to use their money. You may give your father a lot more money. You may be a passionate about cars. You have 2 Alfa Romeos, 3 BMWs, and 1, and then a lot of your cash flow goes to your cars.
Yeah, you gotta buy parking spot.
You can be. Life is about experiences. I need to eat at the best restaurants every month. So everybody has different wants to use their money.
Yes. Life is about experiences. Yes.
YOLO, right?
Yeah, yes.
Or I just love to be the little squirrel on POSB and save my money all the time. So everybody has different choices. If you think 20K a month can let you pay the 12K a month installment, you can. But then it destroys other values or other things you want. So maximum loan can be taken, but do you really need the maximum loan is what I would question. Of course, the amount you can pay every month is relative from a person earning 2,000 to a person earning 20,000. Because a person earning 2,000, he says 60% in salary is 1,200. He only left with $800. But a person earning 20K, he's left with $8,000. So, in my opinion, it really depends on the last question. Are you comfortable with the monthly installments? Does it satisfy other aspects of your life? Because, life is about experiences. Life is about earning money to spend money and also to save money.
Cool.
So don't just take the maximum loan because you can. Take the maximum loan because you are comfortable with the monthly installments.
I feel that when you are in the heat of the moment, sometimes it's hard to gauge whether you are comfortable in, downgrading your lifestyle to pay the installment. Sometimes they will overestimate their ability. They say, okay, I surely can pay for this, but when it happens, right, then my quality of life drops.
It's easier to say that you can drop your quality of life, but it's very hard to discipline that.
Yeah.
Actually, most of the time, people end up saving less. So, as you all know, I was an ex-banker earning really very good money. It took a lot to drop my quality or my standard cost of living. But I was forced to because I left the bank and then I earned lesser, so I had no choice. But a lot of people, if they earn the same amount of money, they just end up saving less because it's very hard. It takes too much discipline,
Yeah.
It really does take too much discipline, yeah.
I know what you mean. As a podcaster that don't make a lot, these days, I realize I've been spending more, and if I try to rope back, that kind of spending habits, right? It's not as easy, lah. Right. So I recognize that. Totally get that stuff.
Yep. I think it's simple. When I was a banker, taking Grab or taxi everywhere is normal because every appointment I go makes me money as well, right?
Exactly,
when I close a deal.
Exactly.
But when I stopped being a banker, I do not want to take MRT and bus. I still take Grab everywhere. And that's one part of discipline which I couldn't rope in. So, luckily in the end, I married, got kids, then got reason to buy car. But car is still more expensive than taxi. So, yeah, it's still not good, right?
Cool.
There have been some cooling measures in the market. They say that more cooling measures will come out soon because the market is growing pretty fast right now. But for the previous
even during
measures,
a downturn, they also grow, right? The property
Yes.
prices keep
They
going
grow a
up.
lot more.
I'm a bit lost, but anyway, yes.
maybe people can't travel, then they just want to put money on the
Many factors.
Singaporeans quite exciting, right? Nothing to do. Hey, just buy a house, let's go see viewing.
I tell you,
Is that how it works?
yes and no. You know, so when you go viewing, I tell you, the atmosphere, the ambience, the want to buy something just creeps up on you. So I told you I was looking at condos to start with, right? So me and my wife, Saturday, Sunday, hey, my kids are at my mom's place. Wow, free. So let's go take a ride. And then we went to a show flat. Suddenly the show flat, I feel like buying, you know. It's so powerful. Actually, the difference is this. You see, during a recession, normally we talk about investment strategies, right? Why does gold price increase? Or why does Bitcoin increase? You know, it's where people deem the safe haven of place to invest in because they're not going to invest in stocks and shares during recession. And in Singapore, brick and mortar or residential property is, or even commercial property is where people view that safe haven is. So I cannot make 10%, 20% taking a high risk stock now because the risk is too high. So I make 2 to 3% in the property instead. And that's why the property prices, that's in my opinion why the property prices increase. So the demand is higher than the supply, price increase.
Yeah.
Supply will be higher than demand only when people cannot make the payments and are forced to sell the houses.
Yeah.
That's where the supply will increase, which it may happen also. That normally happens during a recession as well. It's a laggard, so it may take a while. Maybe end of the year. Maybe it never comes. I don't want to be the naysayer, you know.
I know.
But that's what normally happens, lah. Yeah.
I get your point about the property prices being a reflection of people's fear, you know.
Yeah.
So, but what about the cooling measures? Let's say, you know, in the previous cooling measures, do they affect your loan quantums?
Yes. So if we talk about cooling measures as a whole, I believe it will be implemented, but it's not going to be the same as last time.
Yeah.
Last time affected ability to invest in your second property, affected ability to loan. So it was TDS literally affects your ability to loan eligibility. And then throughout the past 8-9 years, there was I think in 16 or 17, there was another cooling measure that went from 80% loan to value. You only can borrow 75% today. Then last time, every property also can borrow 80%. Second property only can borrow 60%. So the government understands that your first property is needed. And kudos to them because everybody, their mandate is that every Singaporean owns a property, whether it's private or HDB. They are only clamping down on your second property. And loan to value is affected when you buy a second property, as well as ABSD affects mostly second property owners for Singaporeans. Only foreigners are affected from their first property the most. PR is 5% more only. It's not good, but it's not going to kill you. All right?
Wait, there's another term there, ABSD. Additional buyer stamp duty, right?
Yes.
Can you elaborate a little bit? Yes.
Okay. Yeah. So when you buy a house, one of the things in life you can't escape is tax. Right?
Even if you don't buy a house, you also cannot escape tax.
Can.
I think that's the thing you totally cannot escape.
Yeah, actually, even if you go down to McDonald's today, you pay GST.
Yeah. Like it or not,
right?
Man,
So you're
like
still going to pay some form of tax or another.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, you cannot escape tax in life. That's a constant. So when you buy a house, you have to pay buyer stamp duty. So that is something that everybody has paid normally. Used to be 3%. Tiered basis, first 180K is 1%, second 180K 2%, then after that it's 3%. In 2018, again, or 2017, I can't really remember the exact date, it became anything above 1 mil, higher tier 4%. So the government, as you can see, is trying to make their policies affect people who buy more expensive houses. Tax the rich, tax the richer. Okay, everybody in Singapore is blessed. We are all rich. Okay, tax the richer. And then ABSD happens to be buyer stamp duty. Then got additional buyer stamp duties. Today, a foreigner needs to pay 20% higher because, you know, a lot of Singaporeans are complaining, wow, the rich people from this country in the north and this country from the south come in to buy our properties, causing the demand to be high.
Country in the north, country in the south.
I mean, I don't want to do NS and tell you what color land.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, so you know, when people complain, then the government has to do something about it because we are, at the end of the day, protecting Singaporeans or protecting even at least our permanent residents, right? So they make them pay 20% extra. Then Singaporeans are the priority. So ABSD doesn't happen for your first property, only your second property. PRs have to pay 5% on first property. Yeah, so I mean, affected the most is foreigner lah. $1 million property, you got to pay 200,000 more. That's no joke.
Yeah,
Literally
and
no joke.
For foreigners, it's very easy to just buy $1 million property because you cannot get access to HDB and all those kind of stuff.
Correct,
right? So
correct.
essentially, you're being priced into the market,
Correct.
right? And there's this one thing that's changing also in the property market, which is a SIBOR, right? So SIBOR is coming to an end.
Yeah.
And people are thinking like SORA will replace it, right? So
Yes.
all these terms again, Singapore love PIE, SLE, all the short terms. Okay, so can you help us understand what is going to change here? Is it just another way of evaluating interest rates or?
Yes, okay. So firstly, SIBOR and SORA has nothing to do with mortgage at all. It is transparent, separate rates. And that is why when used for mortgage, we know that it's a fair rate, it's a transparent rate. Although it can fluctuate very high and low, it is based on market conditions. It cannot say the bank cheat me or somebody cheat me. No, it's market conditions. So explanation of SIBOR, obviously I've done it for the past decade. Let me explain that easily first, okay? Singapore Interbank Offered Rate, SIBOR, is a rate that is defined as what banks use to borrow and lend money to each other, and is determined by ABS, which is the Association of Banks of Singapore. Yes, a lot of abbreviations in Singapore.
Yes.
Okay, by ABS. So why does SIBOR exist? Why do banks need to lend and borrow money to each other? So I'm going to give you an example. It's not a real example, it's fictional, okay? Let's say I am Citibank. I'm a foreign bank. I don't have much cash reserves in Singapore, but I got $100 million of loans to disperse today. What's going to happen is that I don't have 100 million. I'm not going to go call Citibank US headquarters to give me the money, right? There's exchange risk, there is profit. Every country has their own profit and loss. So it's going to be troublesome. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to call one of the 3 local banks, which are sitting on a lot of reserves. Why are they sitting with a lot of reserves? Your salary crediting is probably towards a local bank 95% of the time. Okay, so they're sitting on a lot of cash. DBS is going to lend Citibank at SIBOR. If DBS is going to lend Citibank for 3 months, DBS is going to charge Citibank 3 months SIBOR. If they're going to lend Citibank for 6 months, they're going to charge Citibank 6 months SIBOR, etc., etc. And that's the fee that Citibank is going to pay. So if your mortgage interest rate is SIBOR plus 0.8, you think about it carefully, actually Citibank's profit is 0.8. They have to pay SIBOR to somebody else. Right? Yeah, so that's what SIBOR is, the interbank offered rate. So banks need to borrow and lend money to each other. Then SORA is not created today, it has been around as well. SORA is the overnight lending rate of institutions, not just banks. So why do institutions need to borrow money from each other as well?
Singapore overnight rate average.
Rate average.
Okay, yes.
Thank you, Reggie.
Yes, continue.
Thank you, Google.
Yes.
Singapore overnight rate average. So when you trade on the US market in the night through a platform like UOB Kay Hian, okay, or IG Trading.
Not sponsored.
Okay, not sponsored. So let's say all the brands to make it fair.
Yes.
Philips Securities and okay, enough. Okay, so when you use a platform to trade, it's overnight. When you do margin or you trade on a leverage, where does your leverage come from? There's no institution open up in the night to lend you the money to let you invest, right? So there is a lending process behind the scenes as well. And the interest rate, the average of the overnight interest rate is SORA. So it's also a lending and borrowing interest rate, which is based on market demand and supply, supply of cash flow and demand of the interest, of the money, right? At the end of the day, these are still borrowing rates, which are transparent. And if you look at the graph, I have a graph of SORA versus SIBOR, right? They are parallel to each other. So in my opinion, the risks of both rates are the same. But since the government doesn't want to let us use SIBOR anymore, perhaps maybe your next loan you take SORA instead, because you can still take SIBOR. SIBOR, even when SIBOR rates are not available in the market, your SIBOR rate still exists. But once the MAS says no more SIBOR, let's destroy that rate. That's where the bank has the right to change you to any rate they like. And that's where you run the risk that the bank will bring you to a lousier rate. So if you take SORA today, the next time you refinance, the next time you buy a house, I would say don't take SIBOR today.
Yeah. Nice.
But there's not much difference on the graph, on the fluctuations.
Cool.
Yeah.
Nice.
But as the name implies, like overnight rate, does it change overnight, or is it like SIBOR doesn't change overnight?
SIBOR changes like the stock market every minute, every second.
Oh, okay.
SORA also changes overnight, okay, because overnight average.
Yeah.
But there's 3 months SIBOR, there's 30-day SORA. There's 60-day SORA, there's 90-day SORA, depending on what banks want to use what number.
That gets very complicated already as we go down that discussion.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I give you the layman way of explaining. I don't care if today is 15th of April. If you take 3 months SIBOR today or 30-day SORA today, I don't care what happens 3 months SIBOR for the next 3 months. Up and down, I don't want to care.
Yeah.
Your SIBOR rate is on 15 April. April to May, May to June, June to July. On 15 July, we take the new rate. So in between these two timings, whatever fluctuations of SIBOR, you don't need to care. I'm only caring about 2 days and then 15 July and then every 3 months, I will assess that rate on that day.
Yeah.
So that's what the 3 month SIBOR is. That's what 30-day SORA is. I only assess your new SORA 30 days later.
Yeah.
So you don't have to care about the daily fluctuations. You only care about a monthly number.
Yeah. So since we are on this fixed rate, right? For mortgage, I know that there's this fixed rate interest and then floating rate interest. So how would you elaborate on this? Like how should normal people evaluate how they are going to use which rate?
Okay, I feel that if anybody calls a mortgage consultant, calls mortgage master, we will then be able to advise you and explain to you all these rates. So the first thing everybody has to understand, why do I care about floating rates where I only want to take fixed rates? For example, if somebody asks that question, because in Singapore, no fixed rate is forever. There is a 2-year fixed rate, a 1-year fixed rate, a 3-year fixed rate, a 5-year fixed rate, and that's the limit today. So even if you take a 5-year fixed rate, on the 6 years is a floating rate. And understanding what floating rate you go into, even if you say I'll refinance after that, understanding what it goes into actually may save you money. For example, if I believe that SIBOR 3 years ago will be low, and after my fixed rate is finished, I don't mind being in SIBOR. Actually, today your SIBOR rate will be cheaper than your fixed rate. Because maybe at that point of time, 3 years ago, will be like 1.8% 3 years fixed, and then SIBOR plus 0.8. SIBOR plus 0.8 is 1.2 only today. So why I don't need to refinance today. But then if you choose a board rate or a rate that is not transparent, maybe 3 years later, your rate is 4%. So you are forced to refinance. Don't you want choices, even though you probably will refinance? I think the choices that people have is actually a privilege. So make sure you take that privilege when you can and understand what you're going to be into next time. Then you ask me, what should people take, a fixed rate or a floating rate? It really depends on your view of the market. So a floating rate means you view that the market recession will continue and interest rates will stay low. The market is really very weird right now because interest rates are supposed to stay low, but then US Treasury rates increase, causing SIBOR to have a small increase. So the world economy is weird. But in general, interest rates may stay low if you believe that a recession is here to stay. For example, SIBOR stayed low from 2009 to 2016. That is 6 years of low. Then take SIBOR today. But at the same time, you already missed the boat. Okay, SIBOR plus a spread is the rate. So for example, today SIBOR is 0.4 plus 0.8, you get 1.2. SIBOR in 2019 was 2%. That's how high it can fluctuate. To sell loans in 2019, banks had to take SIBOR plus 0.4. I have even banks who gave SIBOR plus 0.1, which means if you, at that point, 2% plus 0.1 is 2.1. 2 years later, now you're paying 0.4 plus 0.1, you're only paying 0.5%. That boat has sailed. Because those who dare to take SIBOR during the high, believing it would drop, today are saving a lot of money, but they took the risk of taking a SIBOR rate when it was high, and it could have risen even higher.
Fair.
Yeah, so they took that risk, right? But today, now the interest rates are 1.2, 1.3. SIBOR is 0.4. So I'm a bank. Do I need to tell you SIBOR plus 0.1? Don't need. SIBOR plus 0.8 equals 1.2. That's the loan I offer you today. So you cannot get the plus 0.1 anymore. So now, if you believe interest rates are going to stay low, you may take that, still. But if I tell you a fixed rate is 1.25, then 1.25 versus 1.2 is too minute a difference. Even though you believe that the market is going to stay low, sometimes a 0.05% risk, I'll just take the fix lah. I don't want to even have any bother with risk at all. So depends on your preference, your risk preferences, depending on your market outlook, and depending on how you understand the market as well. And that's why consultants like us will tell you some history like, SIBOR stayed low for so long, this is what happened before. Then you have more information to make your choice with. Yeah.
That's why you pay for professional advice.
Reggie, my service is free. You don't even need to pay.
Oh, that's a discussion for another day. Yes, but yeah. So on the idea of deciding on your mortgage rates, right? Whether is it fixed, whether is it floating, then everything that we've discussed from the start till now, at least
Yes.
the one question: do we refinance? All right. So it's like, when do I refinance? When do I just kind of hold it there, or like what should I do, right? Because essentially this is why we're here,
Yes, you should refinance to avoid overpaying your home loan. But there are some occasions that people don't need to, and it's far and few between. For example, if you took a loan in 19, normally people refinance in 2 to 3 years' time. If you took a loan because it's 2 years lock in or 3 years lock in lah. I took a loan in 18 or 19. That's when SIBOR was high. If I took a SIBOR rate then, which was rare, the only people who dare to take the SIBOR rates at that point of time were my friends, because I told them to, and some people who work in the finance industry who really, really had to, based on their pure belief that recession is coming. Because everybody else is conservative. Even people were taking 2.45 3 years fixed in 19. So people who take 2.45, today your interest rate can go to 1.18, 1.2. You confirm a refinance.
Yeah.
But if you were in SIBOR 3 years ago, you don't need to refinance because the anomaly happened, right? Your interest rates are so low right now. You probably need to refinance, like I said, 6 years later when SIBOR goes back to 2%. Then, okay, before that happens, go and lock in a 1.8. Because the market average is between 1.6 to 1.8 normally. And then it only goes very high. It was only high in 19. It was only low this year. Do you think it will stay low forever or stay high forever? No. So these are the anomaly timings where weird things happen. Today, like I said, if you can take 1.8% is a norm. If I get you a 1.4% 5 years fix, you say, hey, why so high? Outside can get 1.2, 1.18. Because 1.4 5 years average out versus 1.18 3 years and then 1.8 the next 2 years is cheaper. So it depends whether you want the hassle or not.
Nice, cool. Okay, thank you. Thanks for clarity. I think.
Thanks, Reggie. Thanks,
we-
Troy.
Yeah,
Thank you,
we
thank
all
you.
learned a lot
We
of good
learned a lot,
stuff,
yeah.
and yeah, have a great time together. See you around. Take care, guys.
Thank you.
Awesome.
Hey, thanks for taking time to tune in. I hope you have learned a little bit more about property investing today. If you feel like you have benefited from this podcast, do share this with your loved ones. And also, do follow us on all our socials and join our community Telegram group and tell us what you're interested to know about next. Everything is in the description below. Have a great day ahead, guys, and always remember, when we are better prepared, the next opportunity is just around the corner. See you next time. Why is mortgage so important? Okay, I'll give my take lah, but I'm not a professional. I'm just a pragmatist. I've given a little thought about this, and let's give you a real life situation, okay? Let's say you decided to buy a property with your partner, be it for your own stay or investment. You don't really understand about mortgage loans, and your agent just brings it up casually at the start, helps you calculate your max loan based on your income, CPF, and your other debt payments, and then you go to find your property. So for the next 3 months, you go high and low in search for your property. You spend so much time and effort every weekend, every spare time that you have, even on weekday nights. And you finally manage to find something you like. But it requires you maxing out your mortgage loan. Seems simple enough, right? Your agent already helped you calculate it. You can afford this. You should go for it. But what you probably neglected was how biased that decision was. Why? Let me explain. There's too much assumptions involved here, and one of the major ones is, are you really going to scrimp and live a thrifty lifestyle for the next 10 to 20 years just to max out your loan and pay off this? Are you sure you can? On paper you can, but you're human after all, right? And there's such a thing called sunk cost bias. Like it or not, it's in all of us. And what do I mean by sunk cost bias? When you've invested so much of your time, your energy, let's say for the past 3 months into this property, you won't just let it go. I mean, there's some emotions involved. It is not just a property anymore. It's a little bit part of you. And now, even if you can't afford that, you try to rationalize to buy it somehow. Whether you go borrow it or you tell yourself, actually, I can live a thrifty lifestyle for the next 10 to 20 years. Many people don't take into consideration real life context, your emotions, your lifestyle, when they only think about the finances after they find a property. Of course, after you go to the showroom, it's going to look good and you spend so much effort. Of course, you want to buy it. You rationalize it. if it really requires you living like a hermit just to pay off this, do you think life will be good for the next 10 to 20 years? How do you think your quality of life will be like? Just think about it. Just think about it, man. But let's say the second situation happens whereby you found the home of your dreams and you just can't afford it. Chances are your agent will come up with a smaller property or one that's further away and squeeze a nice story with some stats to tell you that this one also fits the bill for whatever you're searching for. But the question is, why didn't they recommend you that in the first place? I'm not saying they're evil, they just have different biases going on. So as you can see, there are too many assumptions and personal biases both from yourself and the agent. When your mortgage loan isn't focused on early on and too much effort is invested in the property searching process, such events tend to happen. But like how the saying goes, it doesn't matter how far you go if you're on the wrong track. The same goes for properties. It doesn't matter how much you invest your time searching for it if you can't anchor your finances from the start. The agent probably doesn't tell you it's not because they are bad. They're just trained in selling properties. They're not trained in breaking down your lifestyle and factoring that into mortgages. But as you can see when you look at your life, mortgages and finances isn't as simple as plucking out numbers and coming out with a max out mortgage loan because you are humans, man. You have life. Buying properties can be seen as a savings plan, but so is being a hermit. But does that mean you're going to be a hermit to save? Let's be a bit more pragmatic. Let's be a bit more realistic. Don't torture yourself and your family so much if you don't have to. But if you want to, then go ahead. You really have to take into consideration your projected lifestyle because everyone lives differently. I don't think there's a fixed amount, for your mortgage loan. There's a fixed percentage. But you have to find out what's your buffer. And only then, after taking those buffers into consideration, then can your finances be more accurate. If people just tell you to, hey, just go for the max out loan, I just don't think that's realistic enough. But that's just my take. What I feel that the smarter choice is always to calculate what you're eligible for at the start, anchor it down, and choose the best property based on that. Start your property searching journey only after you've anchored your finances. There might be situations where you'll be pushed to spend a little bit more, but for that, nobody can tell you whether you should break your anchor. You should decide how far you can stretch. But the majority of people do the opposite. They search for the properties first and squeeze whatever it takes to buy the property after they decided they like this property. And that's where the devil comes into the picture. You'll definitely save yourself a lot of trouble if you do your finances upfront and anchor on that. That's just my opinion. You can take it with a pinch of salt or you can give it more thought in the future when you want to buy a property. That's it for today. I'll see you next time.
I hope you learned something useful today and truly appreciate that you took time off to better your life with the Financial Coconut. Knowledge is that much more powerful and interesting when shared, debated and discussed. Join our community Telegram group, follow us on our socials, sign up for our weekly newsletter. Everything is in the description below. And if you love us and want to help us grow, definitely share the podcast with your friends and on your socials. Also, sign up for our members backend for more investment-related content, live discussions, curated content, and most importantly, your commitment to us is a step forward for us to continue creating great content focused on you rather than advertisers. For more information, check out thefinancialcoconut.com. With that, have a great day ahead, stay tuned next week, and always remember, personal finance can be chill, clear, and sustainable for all. Okay, thanks for tuning in and continuously tuning in, especially for a lot of you guys that have been listening to all our other content and, you may be re-listening to this on the main feed again. So great stuff. If you have not heard all these other content, maybe because we have all these other feeds there, and we're trying to keep the feed lean so that it does not become too messy. And if you're particularly interested in property, particularly interested in entrepreneurship, particularly interested in any other topic, head to the specific feed. Okay, you can go to thefinancialcoconut.com for more information. But I'm going to take this time to give you some updates. So what is going to happen going forward with TFC, right? So TFC at this moment in time, we're doing a few things. Number one, we're prepping new seasonal content, right? So Coconut Avenue is getting a season 2. Entrepreneurship is very likely getting a season 2. We're confirming some of these things, so stay tuned with us. But on TFC's main feed, what is going to happen is Andrew Jan, professional DJ, will be taking over Chills with TFC. Right? And I did an episode with him to hand over this whole thing for Thursday segments. So you're going to be hearing him very, very soon. We did a fun episode to transit over to him. So thank you for supporting the podcast so far. But in order to continue to grow the network and make it a serious, big content player, we'll need to pass the mic, right? So Andrew's going to take over and I'll be freeing my capacity to do other things in our content network. So yes, all that jazz, pretty good. He is a professional. He's been doing this for years, doing DJ hosting, right? So it's going to be fun with him. He has the same vibe, similar vibes as me, also xiao, a bit of dad jokes here and there. So great, right? You will continue to be hosted well with him on Chills with TFC and all these new content that we're doing. We're also contemplating on doing YouTube in terms of adding a video element to some of these things because we do believe that some episodes recorded on YouTube can be pretty interesting too, right? So if you like it and if you think that we should do YouTube, please go to our YouTube channel now, The Financial Coconut, to give us a follow and let us know that, hey, I actually want you guys to do YouTube on certain content, and we'll explore that for all of you also. So going forward, we're doing all these interesting new content, but everything still anchors around living life, at least like living the life you love or managing your finances well. Wow, so long that I record, I forget that the tagline. So yes, living the life you love while managing your finances well. And there are all these different aspects about personal finance and extension into careers, investing, entrepreneurship and all that jazz. So if there's any particular thing that you're looking for, please drop us hello@thefinancialcoconut.com, sign up to be a member, to be on our members backend, and also, just hang around, join our Telegram group and continue to help us grow. Yeah, stay awesome. Let us know. I want to see you soon. Right? So see you after my break lah. I'm going to take a break. Meanwhile, take care.
Industry is changing. From electricity generated like this to sustainable alternatives optimized and distributed by AI. From cars assembled like this to greener vehicles delivered efficiently with cloud-based insights. At Aviva, we're helping industries lead this change. By connecting their teams with trusted insights, they're operating smarter, engineering better, and finding new ways to provide life's essentials. Find out more at takesyouthere.aveva.com. Aviva will take you there.